Are those going to be overrode by the ones that you're suggesting?
No, that's my error. I guess I'm so focused on trying to get the speeding stopped. I didn't go back to the rules and regulations that we adopted in 2009.
I had a deja vu moment, so I went back and checked.
Yeah. I'm fine with withdrawing the motion and going with these.
Well, this only addresses speeding. It doesn't address, it doesn't have a fine table for overnight parking or violation of handicap spots.
Then I would rework the motion to ask the board to add to the speeding and unsafe operation, to add the violation of the handicap parking and overnight parking to that category, and to amend it so I could use those same finding procedures.
And I do have one question. In your email, you indicated that you coordinated this with Chuck and Roy. Could you summarize what their comments were?
Their comments were that we needed basically, I believe Roy's in here. Yeah, Roy's headed the community watches. In case you know, we meet. Roy meets with us at least once a month, sometimes two. We meet on Thursdays at 11:30, and we've all agreed that this speeding situation is getting worse instead of better. Again, I apologize for not going back to the rules and seeing this section, because it's clearly addressed it, and you did approve the finding. And again, that's my fault. But I wanted something that's actionable. In fact, my article for the March newsletter, the entire article is devoted to speeding. It's titled "Speeding" and it goes through the finding. I'm now going to have to rewrite that. But yeah, Bob, I just would withdraw my motion and just change it to say I'd like to add the enforcement handicap and the overnight parking into the same, either drop the same rule finding system into that, create a new category, or extend this title of this category to include those two.
I think you can incorporate the fine table that you had for those two, the overnight parking and the violation of the handicap, and maintain this as the fee table for speeding.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
The old
motion.
Just take the speeding out. I'll use what's in the rules and regulations now.
Well, wait, Bill. Under these rules, they talk about speeding at different 7 to 14 miles per hour, etc. It doesn't say anything about first offense, second offense, third. I don't know whether you somehow want to include that. Also, this one has number 5, unsafe operation shall warrant a $100 fine. I mean, how are you going to say what was unsafe?
I think what we're going for there was reckless driving. Somebody.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but it's really vague, unsafe. I mean, unsafe is using your cell phone and texting. I mean, it's just vague. And that also is 8 weeks loss of privileges. So I don't know whether we need to rework that and somehow incorporate the two.
Yeah, if I can make a comment, maybe you're right, Linda. Maybe we got to go back and revisit this. And also, I guess my comment on the handicap is that it seems to me we have two separate issues. One is that we need more spots or spaces, but the other is whatever spaces we have to make sure we don't have 3 people going into 2 spots and things like that. So that to me they're two separate issues. So yeah, maybe the motion ought to be reworded to sort of look at this again. Maybe have the board policy admin committee take a look at it.
Well, the other thing is how you're interpreting the use of the handicap parking spaces. Obviously, if you do not have the permit to park in a handicap spot, you definitely should be fined. Because if somebody's using that, they don't have that right.
Right, I'm talking about 2 people who may have the permit that are trying to use the same spot.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. We are all talking about actually 3 different things. So I think we have to clarify what we mean.
Well, where are we going with this?
Well, let me withdraw the motion. I'd like to work with Bob and his committee and rewrite this. He's made a very good point, and I think he's about to make another one. No, obviously, I miss talking to him about stuff like this, but yeah, I'd like to work with Bob and
So we're going to
table this until next, and then I'll just change my newsletter.
You want to withdraw your motion? Who made the motion?
Yeah, I'll withdraw the motion and suggest that we table it for a future discussion.
Okay.
Hello, can I still make a comment before?
No, you can make it at the board meeting when they decide.
Well, the comment might help you to just decide on
Then
something.
you can make the comment to the board policy and admin committee as they draw up the stuff. We'll go to item number 6, approve recommendation for clubhouse utilization committee. Is that you, Roy?
Excuse me, yes, that's me. I'm a little stiff today. Roy Larch, Chairman of the Clubhouse Utilisation Policy Committee. Mr. President, members of the board, in presenting this report to you today, the committee wishes to acknowledge and thank their fellow residents who contributed many wonderful ideas and suggestions to this process. We also wish to thank the GM, Mr. Gilbert, his staff, and particularly department heads, for their cooperation and participation in our investigations. Special thanks also to Val Page for her help with administrative tasks, and to Bob Ferris for his technical expertise, particularly in helping the committee put together the PowerPoint presentation which you're about to see. In the interest of continuity of the style of presentation, I've asked Mr. Ferris to walk us through this presentation today, just as he did for our committee 2 days ago. Thank you. Bob.
The first thing I want to acknowledge is the committee itself. I think we have all but one of the members present today, so if they would like to stand. If you recall, everyone stood up until the 31st of January, and they're here today on the 16th, coming back with a recommendation. What we decided to do was do this in the form of a PowerPoint presentation rather than a narrative report. And anybody's wondering? That's not me. I don't own a tie. I don't have suspenders. So the sticker runner that Val and I gave the committee, we gave them our vision, was to develop and submit for board approval policy regarding the use of the clubhouse for outside events. And it was limited to just that, just looking at outside events. We weren't looking at the golf course, we weren't looking at other operational issues that were taking place in here. We narrowed our focus and our scope to just looking at the use of the clubhouse for outside events, meaning events that were booked by non-residents and were generally not open to residents in Heritage Farms except by special invitation. So the goal was to recommend a policy that is deemed to be the best interest of the community. Not necessarily what the committee felt was in their best personal interest. We wanted to come up with a solution that served the community. Objectives was to populate the committee with diverse opinions. And Val and I had a tough time doing this because we had 24 well-qualified applicants. And our goal was to look at people who were strong advocates of closing the clubhouse, people who were strong advocates of keeping the clubhouse open, and people who were somewhere in the middle. We wanted to get diverse inputs so that we have a broad spectrum. So if anybody was an advocate of closing the clubhouse, they could articulate the pros for doing that. On the other extreme, if somebody wanted to keep it open, they could identify the cons of keeping the clubhouse closed. And vice versa, we're keeping the clubhouse open. Like I said before, we limited our scope to outside events only. And we want to avoid any operational recommendations. We didn't want to look at pricing of food. We didn't want to look at the hours of operation of the clubhouse. We didn't want to look at staffing levels or any other operational issues. We wanted strictly to keep this a policy-related endeavor. What the committee did with the sticker runner that we gave them, they identified various options. And within those options, they developed a comprehensive list of benefits and disadvantages associated with each option. They included resident feedback and assessments of options. We went out with a call for comments. People could either email them to Bonnie, submit hard copies to the suggestion box, and we took those into the decision-making process. And we wanted to work cooperatively with management to develop strategies to mitigate some of the residents' concerns. We didn't want to work in an adversarial relationship with the management. We want to work in a cooperative environment. So how do we get there? Recent renovations, expansions has raised awareness and sensitivity of the clubhouse. We had a facelift of the restaurant. We had a new bar. So there was more awareness of what the clubhouse was. Also with the pool and all the other amenities in the facelift, more people were coming to the clubhouse. It was somewhat perturbated by October and November bookings, which added awareness and some dissatisfaction of the residents not being able to use certain clubhouse facilities due to them being closed on the weekend for outside events. So we essentially had a turf battle between management and the residents for the use of the clubhouse. Right here, that's Neil, when he said the board needs to decide some policy, develop some policy. And not to take anything away from food and beverage, they did implement some fixes to mitigate some of the issues that the residents were articulating and raising. And that's either Paul or Mark, you can use your imagination. So the available options, we looked at door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3. First one was no outside events. And we just closed the facility to outside events on the weekends. Those events that were booked by non-residents. Second option was to open up the clubhouse to events, but impose some restrictions, conditions, or caveats on the use of the clubhouse. And the third one was no constraints at all, just going the way we're going now. Let food and beverage decide what portions of the clubhouse they want to make available to those outside events, and they could book as many as they want. So with no outside events, pros were the clubhouse can be used at all time by the residents. And some residents were strong advocates of that concept. We have the clubhouse that belongs only to us. Let's not make it available to anyone else. There'd be less wear and tear on the clubhouse and the furnishings. At least that's the perception. And security concerns would be alleviated. There's a lot of issues, outsiders coming in through our association. And we would also have the clubhouse have additional availability for other resident functions. So we could book things on a Saturday or something if we wanted to. Cons, and this is not intended to be in any particular order, we just identified what disadvantages were. It has a negative impact on staff. It impacts their earnings, it diminishes some of the hours that we work in, and when you reduce their hours, you essentially impact their benefits. We'd have revenue decreases. We'd have less food and beverage income. There's a possibility of an assessment increase if we did have less food and beverage profits. Possible increase in the menu prices for food and resident events to offset those losses. And we lose a market too. We'd have outsiders coming in, looking at the facilities, word of mouth with the clubhouse and all that. Would may be the center for somebody to come in and buy some property here. And our resident functions would not be profitable any longer. With the events, with the restrictions, conditions, and caveats, pros, revenue from outside events will help offset food and beverage loss and may help prevent assessment increases. We would have some control on the use of the facility. We would regain a marketing tool. We would address all the resident issues in the way of policy. We'd have better scheduling. We'd have residents have priority first at the clubhouse before they would book outside events. And we'd have more controls and enforcement in the current situation. We would codify some of the limitations, restrictions, and put those into policy. Disadvantages, it could impede or diminish some data available to outside events.